Sam, what are you today?
I had a Jango Fett hoodie on, and I brought a Jango Fett helmet, but I took it all off because it's hot.
Yeah, it's hot. But also, it's a special day because we're honoring all of our graduating seniors. We got a really nice big group of 6, I think, this time that'll be graduating. So, this whole Sunday's kind of just dedicated to them. I am super thankful, man. It's a great group of kids. So, make sure you guys tell them congratulations. It may be a bit premature on a couple of them. I'm like, maybe they're not going to make it. I don't know. There's still a little bit of school left, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, I think they'll make it. So we like to begin church just sharing some things that we're thankful for. What is on your minds this morning?
That we're done.
Austin says he's thankful that they're almost done with school.
I don't have to go back.
What else? What are we thankful for today?
Thankful man is with me today.
Great to see you, sir. Yes. Great to see you.
Thankful for Walt because he bought me my Bible.
He did. How handy is that? That Walt's a pretty good dude, ain't he? Yeah, Brian.
My daddy gave me a baby puppy.
You got a baby puppy?
His name is Jax.
Baby puppy named Jax. Nice.
And it's a boy.
Nice.
I'm thankful that we got some grass growing.
The transition from mud to grass is pretty nice, ain't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Sam.
I'm thankful that today because this is my 3rd favorite holiday. I love Star Wars.
Sam's 3rd favorite holiday today, so he's thankful for that. Is it officially a holiday?
What?
Is it a holiday?
Technically.
In your opinion, right?
I'm thankful for feeling better.
Mom says she's feeling better. She's thankful, and I am too. Hopefully she'll continue to improve every day. What else?
Josh, I'm really excited about the seniors, but also I think we need to remember it wasn't that many years ago that there probably would only be 1 or 2 up there, you know? So it's pretty cool the whole group that we have.
It is. That is super awesome. Anything else?
I'm just thankful God worries about the little things. God's with us in the big stuff, He's with us in the little stuff. So, very thankful.
It's pretty neat when you see him work stuff out. Then
Yes. So, He's very cool.
it's super cool.
I'm thankful for the guys that do the little camera thing there. Let them work on that, well played. So,
Yeah, we had a special prayer about this camera today.
If we don't go live, I'm flipping tables.
Yeah. Braden's at his absolute wit's end. I mean, it's starting, this thing's actually like starting to move into the spiritual warfare. I'm just telling you, that thing is really, yeah. So, when Will starts preaching, if you hear Braden holler out, that's not the Holy Spirit. He's just very angry. Okay?
Great. Everyone in here subscribe to the YouTube channel so we can go live on the cell phone.
Yeah. All righty. Well, thank you guys for sharing all that. We'll begin our worship with song if it's convenient. Let's stand.
All right, good morning, guys.
What an insult.
I mean, do I look like I'm 50, 40? I'm just kidding. Just kidding. All right. Let's see if this will work now. Okay. All right, maybe this clicker will work. We'll try it. Okay. Well, today's a big special day. I'm excited for all of our seniors that are, as Josh said, hopefully graduating or close. You know, probably going to make it. We'll see. We'll see. So today we're going to start something a little bit different. We're going to talk about questions and answers with Jesus. Before we do that, I thought we might talk about the power of a good question. Right? Power of a good question. So here's a couple kind of fun, lighthearted questions for you that kind of, they'll keep you up at night. Okay? All right. So here's the first one. If the S in our alphabet makes an S sound, somebody did it. Okay. And a K makes a K sound, then why do we have a C in the alphabet? That's a good one for you. Why do we have it? If the number 2 pencil is the most popular, why is it still number 2? Why do we drive on parkways and park on driveways? Anybody? Why do we cook bacon and bake cookies? I didn't even have that one. That's a good one. Why do people say heads up when they actually mean to duck? Right? And this is, Sam, I feel like this is you and me, man. Why do they call it a pair of underwear if there's only one of them? Right? Man, so like powerful good question. Some questions, they're going to keep you up, right? So here's what's crazy. And I didn't know this till I looked this up. And depending on your translation, this number might change a little bit. But in the Gospels, this is nuts. I only printed off 5 of these because I didn't think many of y'all would actually want to take it home, but you can if you want to. In Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you know how many questions Jesus asked? 305. That's a lot of questions. All right? So let's give or take a couple, depending on your translation. But 305, okay? So here's a little bit of a breakdown. Matthew, 91 questions. Mark, 67. I counted these, so give a little grace here, okay? Luke, 97. John, 49. All right, so somewhere around a little over 300 times Jesus asks people questions. That's a lot of red letters, okay? So here's my thing. This is maybe a good question to ask. So if Jesus, he knows people's hearts, and he has all knowledge, right? He knows everything. He knows what people are thinking. So why does Jesus ask so many questions in the Gospels? All right, well, Mark, you already solved the sermon. All right, we're done. Mark said it. To make people think, we're done. All right, invitation song, here we go. That's it. So here's, we're going to develop that punchline a little bit more, okay? If Jesus knows people's hearts and he knows all information, all knowledge, he understands everything, why in the world does he ask people questions so many times, okay? So here's a little bit further of a breakdown, and then we're going to stop on a slide and we're going to really think about some stuff, okay? So here's this breakdown just a little bit further, okay? Y'all know what a closed question is? It's like it ends in like a yes or a no, right? And an open question is something that requires you to like give a longer explanation. So if you've ever taken a test in school, everybody loves matching, right? Matching, true and false, 50% chance. Multiple choice, 25% chance, right? But the worst kind of question to get is which one? An open answer or like a short essay. Like, hey, you just tell me what you know about this, because there's no faking it, right? So, out of the 305, roughly 129 of those are closed, and the majority of those closed questions actually end in yes, which is kind of also interesting. Most of the time, if he's asking a yes or no, he's wanting you to be like, oh yeah, I guess that's right, Jesus, yeah. And then as far as, there's 176 open questions. So that's questions that are like, they start with who, what, where, when, why, how, which. Or at some point they say that. So a good bit of the time Jesus is going to ask a closed question. And a good bit of those times he's asking a rhetorical closed question. It's like we all know the answer to this, just trying to get you to agree. But more often than not, when Jesus asks questions, what does he want people to do? Tell me what you know about this. Like, think about this for just a minute, okay? And this is why this is going to matter. I'm going to get to it in just a minute. Here's the last thing. I don't know if you can see this or not, but underneath all these, I have the HYNR, okay? And that's every time that he says, have you not read? So a total of, I think it's 18 times through the Gospels. His close followers, they're making sure that everyone reads this recorded down, that 18 times, Jesus is coming to people and he's like, haven't you read this? Which is kind of like an obvious like, oh yeah, we've read it. But what does he really mean by like, have you read this? Don't you understand what's going on? Okay. And then here's just a fun side, okay? There's one more fun one, and then we're going to pause and get serious. Actually, there's two more fun ones. I lied. All right. Here's another thing. As far as questions that Jesus was asked, he was asked 183. So actually, he asked like almost twice as many questions as he was ever asked. To put that in perspective. So he asked a lot of questions, guys. And of the ones that he answered, this has got to mean something. There's only 8 times at most, like depending on how you count these. Some people say 3. At most, there's only 8 times that he ever gave somebody a direct answer. It's a pretty small ratio, 183 to 8, that you're going to get a direct answer from Jesus. Why does that? What does that mean? Why does Jesus, on very rare occasion, tell you the exact answer? All right. And then this one's just a brain teaser. We'll get to this later. There's one question that Jesus can't answer. Nobody say it if you do know it. But there's one question Jesus cannot answer. Okay. All right. Now here's where we're going to get into our last one. Does anybody even know what this is? Does anybody know what that is anymore? Like these things used to be in books back in the day, right? And you'd have to, they're either in the front or the back, probably the front. They got this nice little like folder file thing that you pull them out. And what are you supposed to do? You like fill them out. Oh, I'm going to check this thing out. You can like look back in there and see who's, the last one was in like, blue pen and there's, a blue smiley face in here. Oh, I know who did that. Okay. So back in the day, if you wanted to learn something, what'd you have to do? Like this is Einstein's quote. Y'all probably know this. Okay. The only thing that you absolutely have to know is the location of the library. Albert Einstein. Pretty smart dude, right? So the only thing you got to know is what? Where to go find answers. That quote almost doesn't even work anymore. But the idea was if you wanted to learn something, what'd you have to do? Like, I got to make a trip. You get there, you might have to get a little library card, like an actual, it's like a little permit or something. You may have to sign something. You're like, hey, you only got so many days. If you don't bring it back in time, what happens? Oh, shoot, you're going to start racking up a bill. For this whole thing? Yep. You're going to start racking up a bill. And there's nobody to read it to you. There's nobody to tell you what the book is about. There's no this pre-spark notes and it's here's the summary, here's what you got to know. It's just, you got to get in there and figure it out, right? Guys, would you all say that when it comes to information, maybe lazy is the wrong word, but would you all agree that it's extremely easy on us to get information now? Like, you pull out your phone and you ask a made-up lady to tell you what the answer is, okay? And most of the time, she gets you pretty close. Joe was joking about it. It's like, Joe doesn't even use the calculator. He just asked Siri to do the math for him. It's like the calculator, it'll cheat for you. He's like, nah. Hey, Siri, 12 times 13. Like, you can just get all the answers you want, right? So in our day and age, it's extremely... Is that a library card? Who has that?
Me and Travis.
Of course you two would have one. Do you even know where the library is? Okay.
I got one too.
Okay. Okay, I'm shocked. I really thought that was done away with. Wow. Okay. All right. Just anybody got a library card, you can pull it out right now and just... Okay. I believe you. I promise you don't actually have to pull it out. Okay. So here's the point of this, right? This is a fun little illustration to say this. When it comes to us wanting to gather information today, you can get it so easy. In fact, you can even get it to the point of like, I don't actually want to have to read the book. I don't even want to watch the movie. I don't even want to have to play the whole video game. I just want a snippet of give me the punchline, right? Y'all understand what I'm saying? If y'all agree, I will move on, okay? Y'all agree with me?
We agree.
Okay. But when it comes to God, and when it comes to the Bible, and it comes to big spiritual things, God doesn't want it to be easy. He doesn't want it to be cheap. He doesn't want it to be, y'all don't have to admit to this, but I'll admit to it. I've let people like cheat off of me before in school. You know what happens? It's like, hey, Will, what's number 4? Oh, blah, blah, blah. Guess what happens next? Hey, Will, what's number 5? And then what happens? Hey, Will, what's number 6? Because if they get used to you're just going to give me the answer, what? I don't have to learn this stuff, do I? Right? And the best thing you can do is not let them cheat. And like, listen, you got to give them the wrong answer. Yeah. The best thing you can do is you need to figure this out on your own. Like I always thought about this when I was in nursing school. Like I was totally okay to be like the bottom of the graduation. Okay, like I am like bottom 5 percentile. But I was glad that I never cheated, right? Because when you're like cheating on something that's like a medical question, and then you get out into the real world, and you're like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Like, what do you mean you don't know how to do this? Like, you literally need to know how to do this, right? Like, this is important. You need to understand it, not just pass the test, right? It's like, man, I can't goof off in this area, because when it comes to the real life, like, I got to know what I'm doing. When it comes to Bible things, God doesn't want you to just cheat off somebody, give you the answer, 183 questions, and how many has he answered directly? At most 8. Okay? Because most of the time he wants us to work for it. So here we're going to spend the rest of the time on this right here. Okay? This is it. We're going to spend the rest of our time on this slide. We've got a closing question, and then we're going to do our invitation song, and then we got a small little thing for our seniors. Okay? So seniors, y'all be ready. Hope you're listening. All right. Here's my takeaways. These are my thoughts. You all can do what you want to with it, okay? One of the reasons why I think we got 305 questions, some of them are closed questions, more of them are open questions, is this. I think Jesus wants us to be intrigued or challenged. All right. In Acts 17:11, we talked about this in Joe's class. Man, this is a good verse, okay? Acts 17:11. All right. So Paul just left Thessalonica. He's heading over to Berea. Y'all may know this verse. Maybe not. But Paul says, or it is, let's just say it's written, now these were more noble-minded than the Thessalonians, for they received the word with great eagerness, examining the scriptures daily to see whether these things were so. In other words, here's what happened. Will got up to preach a sermon. Will said something, and most people went home and they're like, yeah, Will's probably right. But you know what the noble-minded people did? They went home and they're like, I like Will and I trust him, but we're going to fact check him. Will said something today that I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to give it a chance. But he left me with some passages and I'm going to go home and I'm going to check it. Because at the end of the day, who's accountable for me? I'm accountable for me, right? There are entire religious bodies that make a living off of making sure that people have limited information. Making sure that you trust the guy that's in front of you and keep you in the dark. We don't want to do that. So the Bereans were more noble-minded than the Thessalonians because when Paul said that stuff, they're like, we're going to check it out. We're going to search the scriptures daily to see whether these things are so. Proverbs, chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. So in Proverbs, Solomon is writing to his son. He's trying to give him some, it's a whole book on advice on you're going to come of age and become a man, and I want you to know this stuff. It's going to get you far in life. So, Proverbs chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. And see what Solomon has to say about being intrigued or challenged to learn. Okay? So, my son, if you will receive my words and treasure my commandments within you, make your ear attentive to wisdom, incline your heart to understanding. For if you cry for discernment, lift your voice for understanding. If you seek her as silver and search for her as for hidden treasures, then you will discern the fear of the Lord and discover the knowledge of God. If you don't know this, there's a thing called Bible Bowl. Anybody heard of Bible Bowl before with Lads to Leaders? Heard of Lads to Leaders? All right, it's like a youth program thing. They have a big convention. And so throughout the year, you can participate in these different categories. And when you get to convention, you get to compete. So you might have like a puppet skit. You might practice leading a song. You might practice reading a scripture, memorizing scripture. Some of it's stuff that you're going to do throughout the year, and you get to the end and you just report, here's what all I've done, okay? So Bible Bowl is it's not like Jeopardy, that's not the right way to put it, but it's like a big test. So you got your team, there's 3 or 4 of you guys, and you compete against all these other churches and all these other kids, and you study, like this year, we're going to do Bible Bowl, it's over the book of Proverbs. And you'll spend the whole year studying Proverbs and reading verses and verse and verse and verse and verse. Make sense? You'll get a multiple choice question up on the screen, and at the end of this thing, whoever gets the most right is the smartest church. What a good thing to, whatever. All right. Now, I'm not trying to be mean, but I want y'all to try to answer this honestly. Okay? Maybe it's just me. Do you think, at least it's possible, that a lot of these kids that are memorizing verses and are familiar with the locations, the cities, the people, the ages of people, the days of the month, the feasts, is it possible that they're familiar with the facts, but they don't understand what in the world they're reading? Shoot, yeah. Did that all the time in school. Buddy, I could cram for a test, and I could I remember these words, they're associated together, bam, put an answer, done. Do I know what's going on? Not a clue. And Solomon tells his son, not only do I want you to be aware of Bible words, but I want you to discern and understand. And there are a lot of Christians in this world. Man, never mind. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe I will. All right. There's a lot of Christians in this world that know Bible facts and don't know Jesus. There's a lot of Christians in this world that know verses. Like when I was in preaching school, it was impressive if you could quote verses from the pulpit from memory. And I'm like, why is that impressive? That only means you have a good memory. It doesn't mean you're smart, and it doesn't mean you know what it's saying. It just means, hey, look at me. I wasted a bunch of my time being able to quote 6 verses and we're like, holy cow, man, that guy, he can just quote scripture. That doesn't mean anything in and of itself. It means a whole lot more to me when somebody says, hey, listen to these 4 or 5 verses, and I'm going to tell you something you probably never picked up on before. It's like, oh, dude, that is so cool. Because you actually know what you're talking about. So, one of the takeaways is this. I think Jesus wants us to be intrigued or challenged. He wants to present something that would cause us to be like, man, I want to know more about that. Because it's a whole lot more fun than just having the answer given to you. All right, here's another thing. Very similar to this, but in a slightly different way. Jesus wants us to meditate on things that we already agree on. All right, of the closed questions, remember there's 129, and I should have added it up, but probably at least 3/4 of those are yeses. But oftentimes when he's using these rhetorical questions, it's like when he's communicating with people, he's wanting them to, it might go like this, like, have you ever had one of those moments where you blah, 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 blah? And what is he wanting you to say? Oh, yeah. Like, do you remember that time back in the Old Testament when blah, 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 blah? And what's he wanting you to say? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Jesus wants us to meditate on things that we already know. So maybe this changes how we communicate with each other at church and how we communicate with the world. Like finding the common ground. You know, like when Paul was on Mars Hill, and there's Joe, I don't think we got to this in Bible class yet. Did we get to Mars Hill yet? Are we reading it yet? Or
Mars Hill.
Yeah. Mars Hill. Anybody else? Have we got there yet?
That's next week.
That's next week. Okay, it's next week. Yeah, so when Paul gets there, and they've got idols to like every god, right? There's a god for, I don't know, the water, the sun, wood, seeds, who knows? And they've got an idol there that's to the unknown God. It's like in case we forgot one. And you know what Paul does? To people who have no religious background in terms of like the real God, he doesn't say, hey, turn over in your Bibles to Deuteronomy 4. What good would that do? That's not going to do any good, right? But he says, how about this? You all have an idol to this unknown God. I'm going to talk about that one. It's like I'm going to find the thing that we both kind of agree on, and I'm going to build off of it. All right. So first thing is, I think Jesus wants us to be intrigued or challenged. I think Jesus wants us to meditate on things that we may already agree on. All right, so here's one more good example of that. It's Matthew 9. And Matthew 9, verse 13. Okay, and really this could kind of go for any of these points, but I'm going to use it on this one. All right, Matthew 9, 13. Actually, I'm going to start in 10. So it happened that as Jesus was reclining at the table in the house, behold, many tax collectors and sinners came and were dining with Jesus and his disciples. So he's a very approachable guy, even to the bad people of the world. And when the Pharisees saw this, they said to his disciples, "Why is your teacher eating with tax collectors and sinners?" But when Jesus heard this, he said, "It is not those who are healthy who need a physician, but those who are sick. But go and learn what this means. I desire compassion and not sacrifice, for I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners." So what Jesus says in verse 13, religious people like you and me come to Jesus and they're like, "Why in the world are you doing this?" And what does Jesus tell them? It's almost like the, have you not read? It's like, tell you what, go back to Hosea chapter 6 and verse 6. And literally the question is, have you read this? What's the answer? Yeah, we've read that, Jesus. Like, no. But he says, go and learn what this means. In other words, don't just tell me you've read it. Guys, I read stuff all the time. And you get like half the way through the page and you're like, oh shoot, I should probably start over because I'm just like reading the words. Anybody do that? It's like, okay, go back and read and learn what this means. Because if you learn what this means, then you know what you're not going to be doing right now? You're not going to be picking on the Son of God for associating with sinners. A physician being around sick people. Like, can you imagine going to the doctor's office and the nurse practitioner walks through the lobby and you're like, "What are you doing here? There's sick people here. Get out." Come on, guys, that was kind of funny, right? Wouldn't that be nuts? You'd be like, who do you expect to walk in here? I guess it's the exact kind of people you would expect the nurse practitioner to be around. I want them to be around sick people. Don't go to the grocery store. I want you here. There's sick people. And Jesus is like, if you knew what this verse was, you wouldn't be surprised that if it's God in the flesh who has come here to fix the world, that he's around broken people. And here's the last one. Here's the last takeaway for me. All right, and this one is obvious. It's kind of what Mark said. Jesus wants us to work for answers and discover our own opinion. Okay. If you're already in Matthew, good. If you're not following along, then you're a bad Christian. I'm kidding. All right. Matthew chapter 13, verses 10 through 16. Y'all listen to this. This is another big thing that is very popular for Jesus is using parables, right? And parables is it's like a weird word for like running parallel, okay? I wish I had a good example of like something that's running parallel, but the idea is in and of itself, it's not the answer, but it's running along with it, okay? It's almost like a mirror image, but it's not the thing itself, but it's kind of like the mirror. Okay, that's going to make sense in a minute. So Matthew 13, listen to verses 10 through 16. And the disciples came and said to him, talking to Jesus, "Why do you speak to them in parables?" So parables, like parables of like the parable of the sower and seed. There's, the mustard seed, parable of the like vineyard stuff, the wedding feast, the virgins, the lost coin, right? So all these like examples of things. A tree that doesn't bear fruit, stuff like that. Okay. So why do you speak in these parables? And Jesus answered them, "To you it has been granted to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been granted. For whoever has, to him more shall be given, and he will have an abundance, but whoever does not have, even what he has shall be taken away from him. Therefore, I speak to them in parables, because while seeing, they do not see, and while hearing, they do not hear, nor do they understand." All right, let me give you a good small example of this. It's kind of like when people hear about these people called Christians taking the Lord's Supper. It kind of sounds like a bunch of vampires, right? Like a bunch of weirdos. Y'all pass around a cup and drink blood? Y'all are nuts, right? At face value, just what you hear, like, nah, that's dumb. Okay. In this case, the prophecy of Isaiah is being fulfilled, which says, Old Testament quote, "You'll keep on hearing, but you will not understand. You'll keep on seeing, but you will not perceive. For the heart of this people has become dull. With their ears they scarcely hear, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise they would see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and return, and I would heal them. But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear." So let me put this in street language, okay? Jesus has the chance, when somebody wants to ask a question, Jesus has the chance to just tell them the answer. But what does Jesus do? I want to make this difficult. Like, why would Jesus do that? Because this is how you separate the people that want to be here and the people that don't. This is how you separate the people that want to know truth and who don't actually care. So at face value, it's like, man, this guy, I thought this guy could do some amazing things, and he's over here talking about different kinds of soil. That's dumb. All right, come on, guys, let's go. That's not what I thought I was going to be. And you're going to hear it, and it's going to go in one ear out the other, and you're gone, right? But to the people that want to know truth, to the people that are willing to, dare I say, dig deeper, soils, right? But the people that are willing to dig deeper, what are you going to find out? Oh, there's something more here than just soils. And this story, it is a parallel to something bigger. Y'all ever watched, anybody ever seen Shrek? Come on, some classics, right? The first one, and I think it's the first one, and he's talking about, ogres are like onions. It's like, oh, they smell bad and make people cry. And it's like, no, donkey, no. It's like, this is like a parable for something else, right? We have layers, right? Okay, Jesus spoke in parables so that if you don't really want to know anything, if you're a lazy person, if you're not somebody that wants to really find out truth, you're just like, all right, this is dumb, I'm out. But the deeper that you dig, the deeper the rabbit hole goes. And the more that you're going to be like, there's no way that this is a man-made book with a couple old guys sitting around a campfire writing something to, scare the children at night. It's like, no, this is written by multiple men over multiple generations, over hundreds of years. This is God's doing. Okay. So here's the close of the lesson, okay? This is really important. Who here will be willing to ponder Jesus' questions? All right? Man, Jesus asked some good ones. Like, I don't know if y'all can see this, but I think this is yeah, this is front and back, guys. Like, y'all can see that? Front and back. Another front and back. Another front and back. Another front and back. And another front and back. Okay? Some of these are a little more direct, but most of them are like, let's try this one. Why do you call me good? What do you want me to do for you? How is this that they say the Christ is the Son of God? What are you discussing together as we walk along? Why then do you accuse me of blasphemy because I said I am God's son? Do you believe this? Where have they laid him? Lazarus, right? Answer these questions. It's a whole lot easier to do? Google the answers. It's a whole lot easier. Like, let me tell you guys, when I found out this was on a PDF, I was like, man, I can Control F and I can find this stuff and just bloop, 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 bloop. It's like, man, maybe I don't need to do that because that kind of defeats the purpose of this whole exercise, which is to what? Maybe I need to think about this stuff. And here's the honest truth. Most people don't have the attention span. They're not going to make the time. They don't have the effort. You're not strong enough. You don't have the willpower to take one of Jesus' tough questions and just chew on it, and chew on it, and chew on it. But to the few that are willing to ponder his questions, we're going to try to spend the next 3 or 4 weeks going over his best ones. My opinion, his best ones. If you have a need, we're going to take this time to stand up and sing an invitation song. If there's something that you'd like prayers for, we'd love for you to come forward and do that. When we're done with this song, we're not rushing that whatsoever, okay? But when we're done with that song, if everybody would please be seated, we're going to have the seniors come up here. We're going to ask them one of the tough questions that Jesus asked, and we're going to pray for them, okay? So if you have a need, why don't you come